I think we can make it work. If we start fighting over that, we're having a bad meeting.
Okay, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Council of Princeton. It is February 27th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. Madam Clerk, could you do the meeting statement, please?
Yes, Mayor. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, including the time, date, and location of the meeting. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you very much. David, doing the land acknowledgement tonight?
Sure. We gather today on the land of the Lenni Lenape. As members of the Princeton community, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all peoples and our environment. We honor the Lenape and other indigenous caretakers of these lands and waters, the elders who lived here before, the indigenous today, and the generations to come.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Perrone-Lambros is absent. Ms. Niedergang?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Sachs? Here. Ms. Fraga?
Here.
Mr. Newland?
Here.
Mayor Frida?
Here. If I could ask you all to stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. And I'd like to welcome our guest, President Eisgruber from Princeton University. Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And excuse me, let me just begin by thanking you and all of the council members for the opportunity to come together once again and have this conversation. I think we've actually been doing this by either in person or by Zoom for 10 years now, and that may be an anniversary worth marking. It is so much better for us to be having conversations about our many, many shared interests and about any disagreements that we have, rather than to have to come together only when there's a particular issue to be resolved. I thought I would just make some brief remarks about where things stand around the university, and then it's always a pleasure to be able to speak to your questions or concerns. You may know that I've just put out my State of the University letter, which I do annually to our community, and I started off by remarking on just how thrilled I am that all of us are back together as we are for this this meeting tonight. For me, it just brings joy to my heart to be able to walk around the campus and see the level of activity that's taking place, and that's true in town as well. My wife and I walked out to Blue Point for dinner yesterday evening, and we're dodging lots of people as we walked along the streets, which was good to see. We were very happy about that. So, I want to say again what I've said before, which is I am extremely grateful to the town for its collaboration during the long period of the pandemic. Obviously, we're not completely out of it yet. On the other hand, I've been very pleased over the last week to watch the numbers dropping in Mercer County and New Jersey, and it's great to have been able to collaborate in the way that we did over that very difficult period. So thank you for that. One of the things that I'm really thrilled about this year is that not only do we have our students back and the set of activities that are characteristic of the campus going on once again, but we have even more students on the campus right now. We opened our 2 new residential colleges down south of Poe Field. We were expecting to add another 125 students to the entering class to take it up to 1,425. We actually have 1,500 in that class. It's going to be the biggest class that we admit for a very long time. It turned out we were even more popular with our admitted students than our Dean of Admissions projected. So I say to folks, the best time to have an over-yield in your admissions is when you're opening 2 new residential colleges. Fortunately, we didn't have to be asking for any permits to put trailers on Poe Field or anything else to house those students. But it's delightful to be able to have them on the campus and be able to transform more lives and to continue our efforts to diversify our student body, take more students from low and middle income backgrounds, and that's what that expansion helps us to do. I've also been really pleased that our students, both the new ones and the ones on campus, I think have fresh enthusiasm, probably more enthusiasm than I've ever seen, fresh enthusiasm for interacting with the town. The Pay with Points program has been extremely popular with our students. The undergraduate student government regards it as one of its great victories, and Kristen Applegate was telling me that I think we had $140,000 of spending of basically what are university dining accounts in town as students crossed over and bringing their friends with them. It's a great way to add to the vibrancy in the town. It's a great way for the students to get to experience what a great place to live Princeton is, as well as a great place to study. So I've been pleased to see that level of activity and really pleased by the way that they are embracing that and the perspective it brings to them. I think they're very interested in engaging with the town in other ways, including through their volunteer efforts and thinking about this as a place that is a home to them in multiple senses, as well as the home of their university. So we're thrilled about that. We're thrilled about the improvements we've been able to make to graduate stipends over the last year, undergraduate financial aid, and most recently postdoc salaries. In our view, that contributes to having a campus that feels like it's fully thriving and fully able to study and pursue the education that brought students here, regardless of what their backgrounds are, as they come to Princeton. Obviously, we have a lot of construction on the campus right now. I know that we've got a lot of construction here in town right now, and I feel the same way about the town's construction and the university's construction. You know, if you're going to have a better future, you have to invest in the present, and we all know that there's some disruption when you do that. So I admire what it is that you are doing to make this town a better place. We're doing lots of work right now. Some of it's very importantly around sustainability. We have projects that are helping us to convert the university's heating and cooling systems from being steam-driven to forced water-driven. That allows us to take advantage of geo-exchange wells and will help us to get to our net zero goals that we've set for the campus. We're also, as I think you know, and a small part of this was that house crossing the street, which got a lot of attention over the past week. We're also rebuilding our School of Engineering and Applied Sciences and our Environmental Sciences program. A lot of what I said, as I think you know in the State of the University letter, was related to what I think is one of the most profound questions right now confronting any liberal arts university, which is how you take the ethos of a liberal arts university, which we think is essential to what it is we do, to our future, to the future of the community and the future of the country, and project that into this rapidly evolving technology that we are dealing with right now. That gives us a lot of opportunities in many ways. We can ask questions we could never ask before and look to solve problems that we had never solved before. We're doing things in bioengineering which can help us, we hope, to avert the next pandemic or to respond to it if, let's hope not, we have to deal with something like that. But there are all sorts of research projects we can take on. But there are also changes to the way we interact with one another. And some of that, again, is in the character of things that enable us to do more. Hard as these last 3 years were, I don't know how we would have got through them without what technology enabled us to do. It was a second best compared to being in person, but at least we were able to interact with one another. On the other hand, these days we're constantly being distracted as I worry about the challenges that we have to deal with as a university. Distraction has risen pretty close to the top of my list. I at least find as a teacher, what I'm always trying to do is to get my students to focus deeply on things that I think are incredibly rewarding, and I think they will find them rewarding and important to their lives, but there's always something tempting them to think about something else. And now there's always something tempting all of us to think about something else, and we carry it in our pockets. We carry the world, and we carry our worries in our pockets around with us all the time. Our attention is sought after by all sorts of people and companies that can make money off of that attention. There are efforts to provoke us because the provocative gets people's attention. And I think part of what we need to be thinking about as a university, and frankly as a society, because you certainly deal with this as you try to maintain a civic discourse here in Princeton and in our state, we have to think about how it is that we develop our culture in ways that adapt to what this technology both makes possible and to the obstacles it puts in front of us, to what it's doing to all of us. So to me, that is a profound challenge, and I've said to my students, my faculty, I look forward to them coming up with proposals to help us deal with those kinds of challenges going forward. As I said, that's one of the many places where we share, I think, a set of objectives in having a place, a home where all of us can have free and civil and respectful and inclusive discussions of the subjects that really matter. It's a tough thing to do, and I'm grateful to you for your commitment to that and for the opportunity to speak with you here this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. As usual, questions, comments? Leticia? Go.
This time I did make notes of what I want to share with you. This is a once-a-year opportunity for us, and it's one that I really appreciate because it's not just an opportunity to touch base, also to discuss our shared interest, but I can attest to the fact that very often these turn out into very productive because I can tell year to year that you truly are listening to what we have to share. And with that, I just wanted to go back to my very first meeting when I was first elected to council, my very first opportunity of meeting with you. And when I brought to your attention the work that Habitat for Community, who was at the time trying to raise funds in order to build much-needed affordable housing in the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood. And they wanted to do it on property that had been acquired by the municipality. So I brought it to your attention as a need in our community. And not long after that, Kristen, you remember that Princeton University not only contributed very generous funding, but they also involved students, faculty, and staff who were involved in providing what they call, Habitat for Humanity calls sweat equity to build 2 affordable homes. And thanks to that collaboration and support of many in the community, including the university, just last year, 2 families became homeowners for the very first time, including a family who had been longtime renters in Princeton and had their dream fulfilled when they became first-time homeowners. So, and then also I want to share a couple of years ago at our meeting with you, I made the suggestion that Princeton University could do what other colleges and universities were doing, and that allowed some students to use some of the funds from their meal plan to use at local dining establishments. So imagine how pleased I was to learn that the university's PAWS with Points programs that allow students to do just that. So the program not only supports local businesses, but in my opinion, it also gives students who might not otherwise be able to afford paying out of pocket to dine in our community at our local establishments. It gave them the opportunity to experience something that their peers take for granted. Also, just recently, during Charles Tennyson's presentation on the university's mobility plan, I made the suggestion that it would be great if we could do some more to ensure that all residents, especially our underserved population, is aware of what services are available to them including the Tiger Transit. And so later this week, Melissa Mercuro is joining with Human Services. I'll be joining in the meeting with Charles Tennyson to discuss some outreach initiatives. And I just want to share that I did attend the Toni Morrison exhibit. Highly recommend. It's just something more, just one more thing that we should be sharing with our community, letting them know that this is something that's open to everyone. And I know Human Services will do our part to ensure that, to help promote that, all that's available, thanks to the university. And on that note, I'm in the process of collaborating with Kara Bransom from the University Art Museum. We're planning a community building event that's going to be as a joint tied to the You Belong Here Latinx photograph exhibit at Art on Hullfish. It's going to be scheduled for April 15th. We're doing a loteria event. It's something we've been doing for years. It's a great community building event, but it's also a great opportunity to bring members from, especially from our immigrant community, to introduce them to what the university is doing and letting them know that it's something that's also for them. So lastly, I wanted to mention, I think I mentioned it at our last meeting, that my colleagues and I have been exploring the options for a community center, something that many residents in our community have expressed as something that is not only something that we wish for, but is sorely needed. So it's going to require collaboration with several entities, including the county, as well as many of our community partners, which I'm hopeful will include the university.
Well, thank you, Letitia, for those comments. And let me start with a series, since you were very generous to thank us for what we've done to thank you and the other members of this council, as well as the town, for your collaboration on a lot of the projects that you mentioned. I first want to just thank you for calling out Kristen Applegate and Melissa Mercuro, both of whom are here. It's true that we only have this one meeting a year, and I think it's really important that we have that, but they are listening and responding and continuing the dialogue, as you indicated, throughout the year, and it's really critical to what we're able to do here in the town. And I also really appreciate how many of the events that all of you on the council attend in conjunction with the university. You mentioned the Toni Morrison exhibit. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I'm getting over there next week, but I've just heard fabulous things about it. So many of you were present at the dedication of Laura Wooten Hall, and Leighton and I were just talking about what a uplifting experience that was, and it means a lot to me and to the university and to our community when you're represented there, and I think it really says something about the way that we're working together, so thank you for that. We're going to continue to look for these opportunities to do things. I hope we can find ways to do that around the community center that you mentioned, and we look forward to learning more about that possibility. As you say, we've been able to do things in the past, and I think they've worked out really well for both of us. The Habitat for Humanity initiative that you mentioned now would be something that might come within the compass of what we call our LENS program, where we've said to all of our students, we want you to do a service internship of some kind while you are at Princeton. We would love for every single student to do that, and the university will help to support them, and that can provide support for things that they might do here in the town along the lines, Letitia, that you described, or other projects that exist. So we're very pleased about that. And as I said earlier, you had a great idea in raising the possibility of what has become pay with points, and it just seems to me one of the things right now that everybody is happy about. So when we can find those kinds of solutions, it's a fantastic thing for the university and the town. So thank you.
David.
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I want to say I really moved by your remarks about the mission of a liberal arts institution. I've done some alumni interviewing for my alma mater, and it is a liberal arts institution, but it's distressing how many of the students don't understand really what the purpose is of a liberal arts education. And it's great that Princeton is so focused on the importance of that in our current age. I also wanted to thank you and praise the university for my perch on the planning board. Seeing all of the projects coming through, the design quality and the sustainability aspects of your projects are really a model for every other entity that comes before us in the community. So I wanted to express gratitude for that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is on the front of sustainability. The university has been an incredible leader in terms of trying to reduce climate change. One of my focuses on council as representative of the Flood and Stormwater Committee is resilience and coping with the effects of climate change, which we all know are coming. And have had conversation with Ron McCoy about how we can collaborate. It's so important to be looking at stormwater regionally. And the university has Lake Carnegie right in the middle of it, which drains an area that is about 50 times as large as the town of Princeton. It's a major part of our watershed. So I think the university is uniquely positioned to help convene regional stormwater planning, which we just learned with the state's new MS4 permit requirements, is something that every municipality has to do, is come up with ideas for how to improve the watershed, not just stormwater in town, but within the watershed. And so I know it's on Ron's radar. I'd like to put it on your radar and hope we can get the university's full support in moving forward to work on that regional basis.
Yeah, well, David, thank you for, first of all, your leadership on these sustainability issues and stormwater issues in particular. We appreciate the importance of those issues, obviously, and we've seen some events. I don't know how many once-in-a-lifetime storms we've seen over the space of, less than 10 years. Yeah, right, 7. I'll trust you on that. You're the expert. Certainly, we recognize that a broad approach has to be taken with regard to those issues, and I'll look forward to talking with Ron in order to get his thoughts and about how best we can participate in that and be helpful to the overall process. So issues of this kind are one of the reasons why I'm grateful for this conversation, and I appreciate knowing about the new requirements and agree with you that it's important that we figure out how to work together in order to be able to address those. I just want to thank you as well for your other comments on the liberal arts. I agree. I hope that your alma mater is likewise committed. I think one of the things that we're discovering, and I guess this is true about lots of concepts, and we should always know this, is we can't just take for granted that people understand what the liberal arts are and what they mean. My dean of the college sometimes talks about educating for citizenship, which I think is part of what the liberal arts are all about. But whether you use that phrase or some other phrase, I think we have to make the idea come alive for folks, and that's a real responsibility, just as it's a responsibility to talk about things like free speech and inclusivity and give them real content at a time when people may lose sight of what the goals are there. And finally, I just want to thank you and maybe add a thought to your comments about planning. I'm grateful for the remarks you made about our planning team, and I'll take those comments back to them. I know that this town plans very carefully as well, and we appreciate it that we are able to be a part of that. I think with regard to many of these issues that we think about and that you think about, they're like stormwater retention. You really do have to look at them on a broader basis. I want to mention one there, which I know is of importance to the town, and It may be surprising that it's of interest and importance to the university, but I am someone who's very glad that Governor Murphy has put liquor license reform on the legislative agenda right now. I know that you are investing in a special improvement district that's designed to encourage entrepreneurship in the town, and I think this could be important to that. I also think it's important for another reason. We have all these kids who are coming across the street now to pay with points, and I think as we all think about what we want this region to be, I think having more of the students who are here in New Jersey, whether they're growing up in New Jersey or whether they're coming to New Jersey and getting college degrees, having them stay here, become part of these wonderful communities and become part of an economic and regional system where they may be able to help attract new jobs and businesses is an important thing. And I think one of the advantages that New Jersey could get by this kind of reform is the opportunity to have more of the kind of entrepreneurial restaurateurs, the young chefs, the chefs from underprivileged backgrounds or minority backgrounds who may want to open up restaurants of the sort that I think will attract a younger population and encourage more students to stay and make their careers in the state of New Jersey. So, as I said, it may not be the sort of thing that everybody thinks a university is interested in. I actually think it matters to our region. As long as we're talking about regional planning, I wanted to offer that. Thanks. Oops. Oh. There we go. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you for that. So, yeah, I just have to say this. I was not going to mention this, but I loved in your remarks, in your summation to the university community, your simile between junk food and the phone. I had to stop and laugh about that. So I don't know if that's your turn of phrase or, but you know.
That one I claim credit for.
Well, thank you. That was.
Thank you. So as a writer, I'm very flattered. Thank you.
It was great. It was very clever. So in previous years, I'm the only one on council who I moved here to come to the university and then stayed. Since I've been on council 4 years now, every year we've talked about graduate student housing. And I've done that for a couple of reasons. One is my own memories of coming as a graduate student and struggling to find housing. And the other is the impact that graduate students have on our kind of housing market for people who don't have a lot of money, is most people would rather rent to a graduate student who has a secure 4 or 5 years of funding ahead of them. And now, by your actions, building the new graduate housing in West Windsor, increasing stipends, you've really taken that one off the plate. So I had to find a new issue to talk to you about.
I was all ready to answer with those, Eve, but
no, I got that one. So, but first, before I launch into that, I too want to acknowledge the incredible support that the university has given us over the last few years, and also, to acknowledge Kristen and her team, Melissa and others, because I don't know how we would have gotten through COVID without that partnership, really in so many ways, from our Zoom account to, various other support of money and materials and people, PPE, really. We kept saying it, it takes a village, it takes a community, and you as an institution were there for us and went really met the needs of the community in a really profound way. So deepest thanks, personal and, on behalf of the community for that. So I want to quote you from what you wrote in your statement about the university community, and then push a little bit on the implications of that statement. So you wrote, "To ensure that talented individuals from all backgrounds flourish on our campus, we have reaffirmed and expanded upon our commitment to racial equity. Though we have much more work to do, progress is manifest in, among other things, improvements to the diversity of our graduate student body, faculty, administrative leadership, and roster of professional consultants, contractors, and vendors. And absolutely, walking around campus, it is a very different place than when I came here in 1985, and I really appreciate your role in that. So here's where I want to push a little, and I was going to reference the Laura Wooten dedication, which you already did. This really combines my continued interest in housing, what we might call middle-income housing, and also sustainability. Too many, I think, of the university's lower-income, non-professional staff have to commute from distances to be in Princeton. And I'd like to ask if there's any interest in trying to develop, for the university to develop more workforce-type housing for people who, are not faculty, not high-ranking staff, to be able to be a part of the community, to walk and bike to work, and to really, establish roots here as part of the community in the way that Laura Wooten was, who was able to live here. But many other lower income workers at the university cannot. So I just wanted to kind of plant that seed and see what your thoughts are about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I have to hit a button there. Eve, thank you for that. Let me, before I answer, just thank you for your comments about what I would call our cooperation and collaboration during COVID, because what you said was it takes a village, and it certainly did, and that is true from both of our perspectives. We were really happy to be working with Jeff Grosser and with this council and with others here in Princeton. We felt going through difficult times. We had a real partnership with the community, obviously, about which we care, and that is very much a home to many of the people who work for our university, as well as for the university and its students. So the feeling is mutual, and I'm really appreciative of the comments that you made. I also appreciate the suggestion that you just offered about housing, and I think the best I can say is, well, let me think a bit further about that. I'll offer some preliminary thoughts about it. For me, there are two different subjects there kind of put together. One is the question of housing diversity within the community, which I know is both something that this council has a responsibility to care about, and that we in the council share an interest in, right? So I think I wasn't sure exactly where you were going to push me further, as I was making sort of guesses in my mind as you read the list that I had. But obviously, in addition to caring about the diversity of the university, we do care about the diversity of the town. It is, I think, in my view, one of the things that's being affirmed as our students across Nassau Street. It's something that we hear as we recruit people to the university. They care about and value that diversity, and it's part of what makes Princeton such a vibrant place to live. So that diversity of housing and of the community is one thing, and the second is what programs we make available to our employees and how we compensate our employees, and what the best way is to take care of our workforce. And they might be separable from one another, right? I've said before, I'll say again, we want to continue to work with the town around that shared interest in maintaining the economic diversity of this town and the diversity of the housing stock. Whether or not that is the best way to meet the needs of our own staff, right, who have a variety of needs and not all of whom would be able to take advantage of that housing, I don't know. I'll take that back to my team. It may be better to think of those things separately and recognize that some of the people who will benefit from any diversity of housing in the Princeton area will be Princeton employees. But to the extent that we work together with the town, it may be better to think about that issue more generally. And I don't know, Eve, but I wanted to say thank you for the suggestion, and we will continue to think about it. And I suspect identify ways we can cooperate, at least in some ways, around this. Yeah.
Thanks, Mayor. First, Mr. President, thank you for being here. Melissa, thank you for being here. And Kristen, thank you, and Melissa, particularly for the work you do with community engagement. I was born and raised here Mr. President, and I pulled you aside when you got here this afternoon, this evening, and we had a good conversation along with Kristen. And what I shared with you was that there are two institutions in Princeton, and both are longstanding, the university and the Princeton Housing Authority. Kristen knows that I have a longstanding relationship with the Princeton Housing Authority, and I spoke to you about the fact that the Princeton Housing Authority right now has new leadership, and I think is poised to do some wonderful things with the residents of Princeton Housing Authority. And I spoke to you about collaboration. In your letter on the state of the university, you made a good reference to the School of Engineering and what post-COVID that meant to how adaptability, or to how you adapt to the environment educationally. And we talked about collaborating with the School of Engineering and along with the Princeton Housing Authority to help them move forward to serve the residents of the Princeton Housing Authority. And I just want to thank you. You were very receptive, and to that end, we're going to start to have some meetings so that perhaps next year when we come back, and I noticed as Kristen opened up the information that we read everything that we talked about last year, you came back and you've done or started to do. So my hope really is that not just now, but for the future, that I think is very bright for public housing in Princeton, that we, along with the university, will continue to collaborate and to use the Princeton Housing Authority as a petri dish for the School of Architecture, for the School of Engineering, and for other schools that might have some sort of adaptability to public housing in Princeton. You know, the interesting thing is, when I was a child here, I went to the university football games at Palmer Stadium, and I saw programs. I saw Bill Bradley playing Dylan Jim. Well, fast forward to now, I'm an old man, and I'm here sitting here as a member of Princeton Council. And I want to say that I've always been proud to be from Princeton. And a great part of that pride has been because the university was here. So I have love for the town and the university, and I think it is a wonderful situation, and one of the most noteworthy things that we could do together, the municipality that is to pair up and sync up the university with the Princeton Public Housing Authority to lift up people in public housing, to change their sustainability and their trajectory from now going forward. Princeton had 30% African Americans years ago when I was a child, and now that population is down to 5%. And I think working with the university, we can build those numbers up and make life even better than it has ever been. I am a product of the educational system here, and I think the educational system here is one of the best, both at the elementary school level, at the Princeton public school level, and at the university. And there's no reason that we can't synergize together, collaborate, and do some wonderful things together. Thank you for your willingness to say yes to that.
Well, I did say yes to that, and said it enthusiastically, Leighton. I share your love for both the university and the town. I can't claim like you to have been born in Princeton. I came here first, as you know, as an undergraduate, but we came back before I was on the university faculty because we wanted to live here in Princeton, and we wanted at that point our infant son to attend the public schools here, which he did. I was reminiscing with Mark beforehand, remembering that he and I and Liz Lempert all met for the first time when we were helping parents at the University League Nursery School. So I think we have to continue to look for ways to nurture those bonds and build on that shared set of aspirations and that shared history. And I'm eager to see if we can find the right people to be able to help you with the projects that you're describing. As I said to Eve a moment ago, I think it's very much consistent with the university's hopes for the town. I do count on Kristen and Melissa to be able to help us find the right people within the university to do that. The structure of a university is, and I guess you're in the same situation here in the town, right? You can't reach out and tell anybody to to do anything. What we need is to find the people who are excited about the projects that you're describing. But I think, Leighton, you're correct that I suspect there are people in our School of Engineering and Applied Science, or our School of Public and International Affairs, or our Architecture School, or other departments within the university who would be excited about this. So we will work with partners in the university, and as you say, we've been successful in the past in identifying people who can work with you to make a difference for all of us. So I hope we'll be able to seize that opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Oh, just one more item on my checklist.
Yeah.
Could we also discuss the first Princeton first annual Jazz and Heritage Festival? Maybe we don't call it the PU, working with the university and the municipality, the P2 Princeton Annual Jazz and Heritage Festival.
It sounds really interesting. I don't know. Our jazz professor, Rudresh Mahanthapa, runs a pretty extraordinary event every spring now, and I don't know how much we've created synergy with the town in publicizing that, but maybe there's either an opportunity to kind of couple something onto that, or just do a bit more to make it a joint enterprise. But one of the things that I would love to do more of is get more live music in the
Yes.
Princeton area. There are some great events, but jazz is fantastic, and some of my alt Americana too, maybe.
Thank you.
So we've already touched on a lot of the issues that I wanted to talk about. And so on council, I have had two top priorities. One is increasing diversity in the town through increasing our housing stock and housing opportunities, and the other is the quality of our public school system. So I was going to focus more on housing tonight, but I think I'm going to jump to schools because we haven't fully gotten into that. And actually tonight is the state of the district, which I'm missing. I am the school board liaison. And I just wanted to say that, this council, I would say, is one of the, as Princeton councils go, has an extraordinarily strong commitment to public education and to Princeton public schools in particular. And every single member of the governing body either attended Princeton public schools, their children attended Princeton public schools, their parents attended Princeton public schools, or in my case, all three. And in fact, Councilwoman Lambros, who is not here tonight, unfortunately, but her father, my mother, Kristen's dad, and Shirley Satterfield were all in the same class at Princeton High School. And I do think that, our public school system, more than in many other towns, is something that unites us. And people move to Princeton not just for Princeton University, but for the quality of our public school education. And we have a shared interest in maintaining the quality of that, because for the university, it enables you to attract and retain a higher, it helps in your faculty recruitment. And for the town, it certainly helps us in terms of keeping our overall property values high. So one of the challenges that we're faced right now, and it's one of the most, I would say for me personally, really painful challenges, because it's so intractable and so really difficult, is that we want to, in increasing the diversity of our housing stock, we are obviously attracting more school children. We do not want to be a town that doesn't want to attract school children. We want children here. And we want to give people, we want to be a welcoming town in which we provide housing for all sorts of people, and we also want to provide their children with a quality public education. But because of the 2% cap that was enacted under Governor Christie, there are real constraints on the school budget. We are working as creatively as possible as we can at the council level in all sorts of ways, including channeling pilot funding to facilities expansion. We're doing everything we can, but there are limitations. So this is a plea to the university to work with us as the town, with the town, in maintaining the quality of our public education. There is, from what I can see, so much that the university can do in terms of just even technical assistance, in-kind, you know, I don't want to say donation, but in-kind assistance. You know, you have the resources of engineers, you know, the resources are unlimited, and many of those resources could be channeled towards being used in our public school as an advisory capacity in our public school system. And so this is a plea for that. I know that we have our 2 tracks. The town has a negotiation with the university, and the school district has a negotiation. But as I said, this council makes its decisions very much keeping in mind the school, our public education system, and the town. And so we would like to going forward, prioritize this year the university, the town, and our school system, which is, I think Leighton talked about, a number of long-standing institutions, the housing authority, the university, and the public school system. And so this is a plea for the university to work with us to meet the needs, to figure out how to plan for expansion, for facilities enhancement, so that we don't have to constantly worry about increasing housing diversity because of the impact on the schools. So, and I have one other question when you're done with that.
Mia, thank you for the question. As I said in response to Leighton's comments, I join you in being the parent of a Princeton Public High School graduate, and as being someone who moved here because of the public schools in our case. So I have that personal reason and share that with you. But you're absolutely right. The university cares for at least 2 different reasons. One is it really is a major attraction when we're recruiting faculty with children, right? This is a very attractive community for people to reside in because of the schools that are here, and we care about education. It's at the core of our mission. And although we obviously do collegiate and graduate education, we understand well that the integrity and health of outstanding K-12 systems matters tremendously to us, to the country, and to the world, which is why every year at graduation we honor 4 New Jersey high school teachers, because we understand that New Jersey public education and New Jersey schools are very important. So we are obviously working together. As you said, we're in discussions both with the town and with the school district. I think you would agree with me. The school district is being very thoughtful in its planning for the future. It is engaged in a strategic planning process, and we are in conversation with the district about what the appropriate ways would be for the university to support the district through that process. But just as we have very strong shared interests with the town, we firmly believe that we have very strong shared interests with the school district as well, and for all sorts of reasons, from the personal to the mission-driven, we want it to succeed.
That's very reassuring, thank you. And then the other quick question I have is, so you mentioned that this year you had an even higher rate of acceptances than you anticipated, and I can't remember, it's maybe 5% of people who apply, or lower, or anyway, it's not that many. So, you know, in Princeton High School, there is, as part of the strategic plan, and there has been since, Steve Cochran, a real emphasis on the whole child, every child known, that, an academic track is not necessarily for every child. And, by the same token, the kids in our school system grow up on the doorstep of a university that is idyllic, and which most of them probably will not have the opportunity to attend. And for many of them, they may not, attending an Ivy League school may not even be possible. And one thing our school district has, I think, rightfully been working on is trying to help the children or the students to focus on becoming whole, global citizens, whole students with the understanding that not everybody can go to an Ivy League school, and that's not the end of the world. So I'm just wondering, what would your message be to the students at Princeton High School who may not be able to attend Princeton? They may not even be able to attend any Ivy League school, and as they look forward to their life, what would you encourage them to strive for, to focus on as global citizens, as successful adults?
Wow, that's a big question. So I think one of the things that I would do is recognize immediately, and you highlighted this in your question, that the answer to what it means to be a citizen and how you can contribute varies from person to person. There are lots of different ways to contribute to our country, our community, and our town. And I think it's really important that every student be thinking about how they do that, but that they recognize, first of all, that the ways they can do that will differ, and very few of us discover our vocation or our calling right off the bat. So, where they start may be quite different from where they end up. I'll say a few more specific things about that, although I don't think I can cover the waterfront, so to speak. The first thing I would say is that fortunately there are many places where one can get a college degree that will enable you to do more things, that will both enable you to make an income that will make a difference in your family's life, and that will enable you to be a citizen of the world in general, as long as students complete their degree. And it's really important if they go to college. Not everybody should go to college. Not everybody, right? I think I encourage people who want to go to college. They probably should, but it isn't the right thing for everybody. But when you go to college, you get that degree. It does make a difference to earning power and to prospects. And there are lots of good places to go in the state of New Jersey. There are good places to go here in Mercer County. I've said before, I'll say again, I think the College of New Jersey is one of the hidden gems of the American educational system. It's a fabulous place to get a degree, and does great teaching. We are working on finding more ways to collaborate with Mercer Community College, which is also a good option for some students. One of the things that we want to do, and this was alluded to at the end of my letters, we're looking to create a couple of pilot programs over the course of the coming year, designed to help more students who go to community college reach their goal, if that's what they want to do, of not only getting their 2-year associate's degree, but of going on to get a 4-year bachelor's degree at some other institution. So the attrition rates are higher than they should be for students who go to community college thinking of it as a path on to 4-year degrees. And we want to work together with some of our partners here in the state of New Jersey to see whether or not we can improve those rates. So I think there are lots of different paths, but one of the things I would really, if I'm giving some general advice, is counsel students, look, you start on that college degree process, get the degree. It really is the degree that makes a difference. You can get it, you gotta finish. And there are a lot of different places where you can get a valuable degree, but you gotta get the degree. I'll give you one last just observation. It's not about somebody who grew up in Princeton, but one of the stories that I'm proudest of on the Princeton campus right now, I still think being featured on our website, that illustrates just what I said earlier, that the path you start off on is not always the one that you end up on, and maybe takes some time to find your calling. But one of the students we've honored with a scholarship to Oxford University this year to do graduate work is a young man who, after he graduated from high school, did 15 years of special ops service in the United States Marine Corps without having gone to college first. And then he went off to Coastal Carolina Community College and then our transfer program, which we didn't have 10 years ago. He applied to that and was accepted, and now he's getting a degree in history, and he's going off to do graduate studies at Oxford University because he thinks that understanding Byzantine history helps us to understand what's happening in the Middle East today. So there's a testament to the liberal arts, right? And there's a testament to, finding different paths depending on who you are. And here's somebody who I don't know whether he ever thought as he started his military career that he would end up at Oxford University doing graduate studies in history, but I hope that's what we're able to produce through the Princeton schools as well, are people who are ready for a path that can be quite unpredictable.
Well, I don't think anybody sitting up here ever anticipated that we'd end up sitting
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank Council for engaging in the conversation. And, I think it's important to point out, Kristen is well aware that we met recently as a governing body to talk about goals for the town for the year, same as we did last year. And it is a process where I think we've finally gotten to the point where we're looking at overarching goals. And some of those were mentioned here in various forms tonight. And I've been a big believer, as I've said for a number of years, that the more the university and the town can work together, find common goals, and work together on those, the better. And the goals that are different, we should still be talking about them, as you alluded to, so we get to a level of contentment with each other as to where we're going with things. But I can't stress enough, I think the working class housing challenge that this community faces, having grown up here and seeing how much the community has changed, as Leighton alluded to, it's incredible the difference in the community. And I think one of the things that has always made Princeton so special is the mix of people here, and every year that gets harder and harder. The cost of real estate is just incredible. So, I look back again to when I was much younger, and the senior citizens that can't afford to pay taxes that have had to leave, the people that graduate college and can never afford to buy a house and just can't live here even though they grew up here, people that maybe 20, 30 years ago could have possibly afforded a starter house, so to speak, and now have no way of even achieving that. And that hurts this community. It hurts the university, I believe, because the university is tied to the people that live here. It ties to the people you attract to be at the university. So anyway, there's a lot of basis, I think, for all of us to continue to try to work together and look at the goals that are common and try to find ways to work on those together. So, but again, thank you for being here this evening.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. I do think, once again, this conversation reaffirms that we have a lot of shared interests and opportunities each year to find some things. And I hope that when I come back next year, you can say, as Letitia and Leighton did, and others of you have affirmed, that we were able to make progress on some of those things. I agree with you, Mark. The housing challenge is significant. This is, for all the reasons we've been discussing, a very attractive place to live. And the fact is, if you're a very attractive place to live, it tends to drive up the property values and the demand for housing. But I agree with you too that part of what makes this place an attractive town to inhabit is exactly its diversity, which is then threatened in a way by its very success. So that may be a bit of a paradox, but by working together, I hope that we can help to preserve the diversity that I think is in all of our interests. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and more deeply than that, thank you for the opportunity to work together with you over the course of these years. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all going to get back up top here. Staff's going to come up here and
Go Tigers.
we're just going to take about 5 minutes before we start the rest of the meeting. We got technology to fire up, and if people need to get a drink or do whatever, now's the time.
Where they would Do you see it snowing? Did you see that it was snowing?
I just went out there and saw that, yeah.
Okay, we're all back. Thank you for your indulgence in letting us do that. So we have announcements and reports up next. So we'll start with the governing body. Anyone from council? Eve?
Yes, I have a few things. Thank you. For those of you who don't know or haven't noticed, we have new trash carts that have been issued, I think, by the end of the month, and we're almost there. Everybody should have received one. Under Deanna Stockton's leadership, we have a waste team. If you have questions about how the garbage system, new trash system is supposed to work, you can contact the waste team. I'm also taking the lead in handling emails and questions from the community, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me as well. And I wanted to, again, congratulate Deanna and her team, because the Witherspoon Street Phase 1 project received recognition as a New Jersey leading construction project from the New Jersey Alliance for Action earlier this month. So that's a big recognition. As the chair of the Personnel Committee, I wanted to just mention a couple of upcoming retirements of absolutely key personnel, one of whom is leaving the room right this second, Dolores Williams. I don't know, maybe she didn't want to be recognized. But anyway, Dolores is going to be retiring over the summer, and we are going to miss her, but there'll be other opportunities to celebrate, but I just wanted to get that out there. Also leaving is Christina Rothman-Iliff, who, among other things, does Access Princeton. She has so many different job titles. She kind of runs a lot of the communications, handles the newsletter and various other things. So she'll also be a difficult person to replace. And finally, just wanted to note that the Environmental Commission last week had a meeting, as always, open to the public to talk about the environmental resource inventory and the consultant Ecotone, and our open space manager, Cindy Taylor, came to that, and efforts to gather community input is going to continue as this project continues through the year. So that's it, thanks.
Thank you. Other council announcements or reports? Leighton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Last Monday, on my street, Birch Avenue, first responders and police responded to an emergency call. I think she's 22 years old. A young lady was choking. And because of the response of the police officers and first responders, her life was saved. So I just want to, let folks know what kind of professional people we have here, and want to give a shout out to the police and the first responders for saving a young girl's life. Obviously, her parents are very happy about that, and just wanted me to make sure that I let the people responsible, the professionals responsible, know how grateful she is. So from the Birch Avenue crew to you, thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Leighton. Other council announcements or reports? Okay, let's go to the January police report.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Newland, for those kind words. Really appreciate it. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here this evening. I will be presenting the Princeton Police Department January monthly report. And the one item in the report that I would like to highlight is our recruitment. In January, we initiated our recruitment efforts. That process started towards the end of the month, and on February 1st, we went live with our recruitment. To date, over the course of the last about 3 weeks, we fielded 80 applications for employment. We still have several weeks of recruitment ahead. We just began some of our recruitment activities. There's one I'd like to highlight specifically this evening. Something new that we're doing in this process that we've never done before is we're having a recruitment open house that's occurring next month. The idea of the open house is for interested applicants and any interested parties whatsoever to come to the police department. It'll be an open house, usually from 9 to 12 on a Saturday morning. It will give applicants an inside look at the police department, a chance to meet the command staff and some of the officers, and hopefully increase their interest in wanting to get employed here. So we're looking forward to that and kicking off the rest of our recruitment activities in the coming weeks.
Thank you. Any council questions or comments on the police report? Eve?
Thank you so much for that. And I actually had meant to say when I was talking about personnel that in addition to the retirements of our clerk and Access Princeton manager, that also there were several notable retirements in the police department coming up, and replacement for that. So thanks for touching on that. So I have a small ask and a kind of larger question. So the small ask is, I wonder if we could continue in the police report for one more year if there's physical room to keep the 2019 data. I still think that we're not really kind of quote unquote back to normal. And in this case, like January was normal, January 2020. But then when you start, as we get like further into the year, like, and I value the ability to look back over the last few years. So I wonder if maybe we can put in a pitch for one more year to continue the 2019, to have the 2019 data in there. And then one of the things that I was thinking about, and it kind of fed into some reading that I've been doing, is definitely noticed a downturn, obviously since 2020 for a variety of reasons in the number of traffic stops. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, because traffic stops often bring police officers and citizens into conflict, unfortunately. And I know I've read that for police, that could be one of the most dangerous parts of their job. So I know that there are restrictions in New Jersey on the use of cameras for routine traffic enforcement. But I wonder, and if you don't know, we can talk about this at another time, but I wonder if it's possible to talk either now or at another point about what kind of other measures other than traffic stops. I was talking about that a little bit during the break with Leticia, and she said like an expired registration, right? That's a citable offense, but it's certainly not a danger. Like if somebody drives with an expired registration, it's not like it's going to cause a death or an accident. They should have a current registration, but are there ways of following up on those kinds of infractions, or speeding but not speeding such that it poses an incredible danger? Are there ways that we could use cameras or other methods to punish those infractions, or to alert people to those infractions without the discomfort and possibly the danger of police officers pulling over cars and stopping them? So I hope that was a clear question.
Sure. To your first point about the 2019 data, I will certainly bring that back to the chief. I don't see an issue probably including that. As far as the second thing with the cameras, I think there's technology out there that maybe not cameras, but license plate readers and other things that are available to police, some that we have, some that we don't, that could possibly do what you're asking. Yeah, I do agree with you. Motor vehicle stops are never a non-stressful situation, both for the person being stopped and the police officer themselves. Stops as a whole are down across the country. There's several variables because of that. I will let you know that in our policy, the Princeton Police Department traffic enforcement policy, we do emphasize to officers in that policy to focus on aggressive driving behaviors as far as enforcement is concerned, and not the minor equipment level violations that you're referencing and some of the other more minute issues with registrations and driver's license. While those are still a violation that can be cited or stopped by the police, we focus our efforts on the aggressive moving violations for the most part.
Thank you. Thank you, and I hope this can be a point for continued discussion going forward.
David?
Yes, so this is a little bit of a follow-up. I noticed on Jefferson Road last week there was either a traffic counter or a speed monitor. I say either or because there were actually two tubes crossing the roadway. And I know we've been using radar detectors, for monitoring our Traffic Safety Bureau has been using that to monitor. So it's a two-part question. One is, do you know whose equipment that was? And number two, it's kind of a thank you. One of the patrol officers was out this morning actually pulling over people who were speeding in proximity to my crossing, which I really appreciated. So, but I don't know if that was partly because of data that was being gathered last week by that equipment.
Thank you. So the equipment I think that you're referencing is usually like engineering or Department of Transportation-based collection materials. The technology that we utilize for speed measurement and other stuff is usually those signs that you see flashing the speeds on the side of the road. We can gather information, not just let drivers know what their speed is, but it's also a system of collecting information which could then be analyzed and put together for reporting purposes. The equipment that you probably saw that's referencing that's probably placed across the roadway is traffic counters, usually counting the volume of vehicles that are traveling through the area.
Typically, DVRPC, our municipal planning organization, will do traffic counts. I don't know if anybody in the organization has received a notice, but that it's their type of equipment typically.
I remember when we were doing the quarter study for Hamilton Wiggins, and we got some information from DVRPC, not only about volumes, but about speeds of vehicles, and I thought maybe that might be who had put that out, so.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Okay, next up is public I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I missed the, I just realized our planner is not here, and he would have made this announcement, but I'm going to do it on his behalf. On March 18th, which I want to make sure that's accurate. Is March 18th a Saturday?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Our audience is so helpful. On March 18th, we are having a community meeting from 10 to 12 in the community room here to kick off the process of figuring out how we're going to move forward on the seminary site. And we have a planner who's been working on putting together some recommendations for the town, so that's going to be a meeting that there will be quite a bit of outreach and a process, but that is March 18th, Saturday morning from 10 to 12 in the community room will be the relaunching of the process that will lead to some decision on what goes on the seminary site. So just wanted to give the people ample notice so they can reserve their time on their calendar.
Thank you. Okay. Public comments for items not on the agenda. So this again, Dan, come on up. Just say your name and address, and there's a 3-minute limit, but.
Dan Rappaport, 300 Bunn Drive, apartment D208. I've been quite upset since the time the merger was completed, and I'd keep on reading the phrase, the municipality of Princeton. The word municipality referring to Princeton appears to be out of sync with the real world. The road atlases that have the charts with the names of the municipalities, or the Encyclopedia of New Jersey provides a list of municipalities, and no municipality is identified as a municipality. Reports in the Trenton Times have sometimes referred to Princeton as a town or a township. In October, I told David about the Board of Elections switching the columns for the congressional districts in Mercer County, and we were identified as Princeton Township. I want there to be a new nomenclature classification for Princeton to be adopted by the council. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Any other public comment for items not on the agenda? Yeah, I can't see the screen at the moment, but yeah, we'll be there in just a second. Okay, Adam, if you could bring Martha over.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Martha, maybe just speak a little louder.
Okay, I'll come closer to the microphone. I'm trying to make my video on, but somehow it's not coming on. The reason I'm here tonight is I just want to express some concern with enforcement of noise restrictions, particularly in our neighborhood now that we have impending construction. And I will start by thanking Councilwoman Mia for helping us this past week. I came home on Tuesday at about 9:30 to the sound of really, really loud jackhammering in our neighborhood. Neighbors had sent me some text saying that they had called the police because the noise was so high. I went to the shopping center, and there was, in fact, jackhammering happening next to the Walgreens, and a police officer was there, a very, very polite officer who took my name and took the name of the contractor, who indicated to him that he had a permit and therefore he could work. I asked if he was intending to work all night, and he said, "I'm only going to be here tonight, and then the work will be over." I indicated that I didn't think that you could be working all night, that our regulations didn't allow for that, but nothing came of it. So I came home. I did text Mia to ask if she could hear the noise from where she was in her house. She wasn't home, but she promptly started making calls and trying to find out what was happening. The noise persisted until around 1 a.m. when my understanding is that Mia actually came with officers to the site again, and then finally was able to see that there were no permits that would allow them to be working all night. So thank you, Mia, for that. And just want to express that with the impending construction coming to our neighborhood, we are all very concerned about the lack of enforcement for something like this. And just hope that the police can be a little more on top of something like this. Also want to comment that we had absolutely no issues with the pharmacy construction. And thank you again, Mia.
Thank you, Martha. Martha, just for the record, could you just give your address so we just have it in the minutes?
Yes. My address is 46 Clearview Avenue.
Thank you very much.
So, thanks, Marta. Yeah, that was good. We were able to resolve that. I had a follow-up conversation the next morning with Chief Bukhari and explained the situation, and also described the amount of construction that we're anticipating in the neighborhood. And he agreed that it would be important for to have an ongoing program of education for our officers to understand, what our ordinances are in terms of work, what permits look like, what for different types of work, and what is and isn't allowed, so that they can feel empowered to enforce the laws that we have passed. Because obviously, if we pass ordinances here on council and then nobody knows what they are, how to enforce them, there's not much point in doing that. So, and I also spoke with our engineering department about working with the various firms who were extremely apologetic, although it's easy to apologize after the fact. But and so I know that our engineering department is planning to work with the various firms who are planning construction to notify the neighborhood, and the police department is working to educate, will be working to educate the officers on, additional education about what's allowed and how best to enforce it. So it's going to be a work in progress, but we at least have got the ball rolling. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda? All right, I don't see any others in the room. I don't see any hands up, so we'll close that part of the meeting. And we have public hearings on ordinances. The first up is Ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance by the Mayor and Council of Princeton concerning salaries and compensation of certain personnel of the municipality of Princeton. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, David. Questions, comments by anybody on council to begin with? Okay. Anybody from the public, either in the room or on Zoom, with any comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2023-07, bond ordinance amending bond ordinance numbered 2021-21 of Princeton in the County of Mercer, New Jersey, finally adopted July 12, 2021, in order to amend the description of the project. And Deanna, that's Mount Lucas Road? That's for Mount Lucas Road, I believe?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion? David, thank you. Is there a second? Leighton, thank you for the second. Questions or comments by council members? Okay, seeing none. Public comment, either in the room or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, we'll declare the hearing closed and have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2023-08, an ordinance of the municipality of Princeton authorizing the acquisition of certain real property located at 1-1 through 10 Franklin Avenue, designated as Block 21.04, Lot 2, on the tax map of the municipality of Princeton. Is there, Mia's got the motion, Leticia's got the second. Questions, comments by council members on this? Okay, seeing none. Comments by, or questions by members of the public? Okay. Adam, I see that we have a hand up. Frank, if you could just say your name and address, and then, you have the 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, this is Frank DeSanzo. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. I apologize. I can't seem to get my camera working. I live on 194 Linden Lane in Princeton. I just wanted to make an overall comment. As a concerned citizen, I thank you all for the opportunity to kind of weigh in on this and some of the development that's taken place in this town. It seems to be like a rash recently of urbanization that's continuing unabated, and quite well could take the form of a lot of additional new units on what was the former seminary grounds, which came up earlier. This purchase of the land on Franklin to build multiple units kind of ties in with the over 700 units that are now going to go up on Harrison Street, the proposed 4-story structure on the corner of Harrison and Nassau. One doesn't need to have a crystal ball to kind of see where this is going from an environmental impact, from a traffic impact, etc. This kind of development is going to increase our parking issues, the horrendous traffic, particularly on Harrison and Nassau, not to mention what's going on in the central business district, and even on Washington Street. And that's not to mention all of the new things that are going to open up on that between Route 1 and the town. I shudder to think what the town's going to be like, what the quality of life is going to be like when all these things are open. And this, I really think, contrasts heavily with the messaging we received about sustainability. I mean, personally, I'm encouraged to not use a gas leaf blower, but we're packing the people in along with their cars, along with the waste they create, etc. Even on my street, Linden Lane, when a house comes down, it's more likely that several are going up on that lot instead of the one that was there before. So I just want to caution all of you that these decisions that you're making, for all intents and purposes, are irrevocable. And please keep that in mind as you continue this desire to build up and urbanize the town. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Let me just see if there's any other public comment, and then we'll... okay, I don't see any other hands up. Nobody else in the room? All right, Mia, I know we wanted to make...
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so that actually, I mean, at ordinance hearing, we generally restrict comment to the matter at hand. That actually wasn't related to the matter at hand, but that's fine. And I just wanted to let Mr. DeSanzo know that this purchase of the property is not about new development. This is zoning on this site was approved by the council 3 years ago as part of its court-mandated affordable housing settlement. The other properties that you mentioned are also part of the municipality's court-ordered housing settlement. So the place for Mr. DeSanzo to take up his critique is not with the council, it's with the courts. He's welcome to do that, but we abide by the law here in Princeton, and there is a system in place in New Jersey whereby we have to comply with affordable housing mandates, and that's what we're doing. We follow the law, and that's what we've done, and this Franklin site is part of our, as I said, a settlement that actually the previous council signed off on 4 years ago, so there's nothing new. This is simply the purchase of it's a transfer of the title of the third portion of the property, but it is, which makes it easier to develop the site cohesively. It's a logistical, it's too complicated to go into the reason, but it actually doesn't change in any way what's happening on the site. And as I said, the zoning for this site was approved quite a few years ago. So.
Other council comments or questions? All right, just make sure no other public comment. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to respond very briefly to another aspect of that comment. As Councilwoman Sachs said, we are mandated and also, I think, are committed morally to building affordable housing. That housing is much more environmentally sustainable when it's put in town, in land that's already been developed. There's fewer, much smaller amount of stormwater runoff, which has been a theme today. There's much less environmental impact when we, for example, take a parking lot at the shopping center or an already developed site like Franklin, or a site such as Thanet that was an old office park, and develop that. And at the same time, we preserve land up on the ridge that was also slated for housing development that would have been an environmental and sustainability disaster. So we are really thinking constantly about the issues of affordability and sustainability and of keeping Princeton a diverse and welcoming town. These thoughts are never far from our minds. So just wanted to put that in a slightly larger context.
Okay, David?
And I'll just touch on one other aspect, which is traffic, because I was a member of the council that did sign on to the settlement 4 years ago, and we really worked hard to try and locate the new housing units in places that would be walkable to the needs of daily life. And while there's no denying that there will be additional cars that will come with these new housing units, we're hoping they will sit unused at least more than they would have, for instance, if we had placed these developments out on the Ridge or down on 206 or somewhere else. So we really worked hard to implement a solution within the framework of the state's requirements that would have the least negative impacts for the community.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I just have to say that when it comes to public comment, I am aware of what the topic at hand is, and I might have a looser interpretation of what that means, but unless somebody starts talking about something totally different, I do welcome public comment on any topic and try to refrain from cutting people off unless they go way off track. Having said that, could we have a roll call vote?
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we have two ordinance introductions. Ordinance 2023-09, an ordinance of the Municipality of Princeton amending Chapter B16, Housing, of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974, to add thereto a new article entitled Lead-Based Paint Inspection. The public hearing would be March 13th, 2023. Eve, thank you for the motion. Leticia's got the second, and that's a roll call vote.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Okay, next up is the introduction of ordinance 2023-10, an ordinance of the Municipality of Princeton pertaining to certificates of compliance for rental dwelling units and amending Chapter B16 Housing of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Public hearing March 13th, 2023. Leticia's got the motion, Leighton's got the second. That's a roll call vote. Please.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
All right, so let me just take a second. Was Chip here just in case we had?
Just in case there was any comments.
Right, so-
I don't want to steal his thunder.
Right, so no, I'm just saying, ordinance introductions, I'm sorry, I should have caught this earlier today. We don't really do comments. But Chip, I want to thank you for being here. And I also want to note, today is your birthday? Correct. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
birthday.
Chip.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up are resolutions. 23-88, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton approving an emergency temporary appropriations for the 2023 current fund budget. David, thank you. Leighton's got the second. Questions or comments on this? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, that passes. 23-89, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton approving an emergency temporary appropriation for the 2023 Affordable Housing Utility Fund budget. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, David. Mia's got the second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 2390, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton approving an emergency temporary appropriation for the 2023 Parking Utility Fund budget. Is there a motion on that? Mia, thank you. Is there a second? David's got the second. Thank you. Questions or comments? David?
This may be a little late, but it applies to all three of these, and I'm wondering if Bernie could just make a little bit of a comment. as emergency allocations, these sound a little bit alarming. Can you relieve anybody's alarm who may be listening?
Yeah, I think it's just until we get our budget passed, this kind of gets us through the beginning of the year with all the different areas that you voted on this evening.
Right, so the word emergency is.
So, yeah,
little
so it's
dramatic.
not like we have some expense that we didn't anticipate that
Yeah,
we're...
we are not in crisis mode or anything of that nature, no.
Thank you.
It's a good question. But it's required wording. Yep. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2391, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement in the not-to-exceed amount of $29,975 with DeFeo Associates for a study of the Engineering and Infrastructure Operations Department. Leighton, he's got the, it's hard to see. I'm good. Leighton's got the motion, Eve's got the second. Okay. Questions or comments on the motion? So just so people know what this refers to, that's what most people would call the Public Works Department. A study of, sorry. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2392, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement with Hawana Shah, MD, for 2023, not to exceed $28,000. This is for Corner House for a psychiatrist. I'm sorry, Leticia, has the motion, and is there a second? Thank you, Mia. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 2393, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of a professional construction administration and construction observation services agreement to T&M Associates for a cost not to exceed $259,527 for the Phase 2 roadway improvements to Witherspoon Street project. Eve's got the motion, David's got the second. Questions and comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2394, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the execution of an agreement with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the New Jersey Urban and Community Forestry Program, NJUCF, Stewardship Grant Award in the amount of $50,000. Is there a motion? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, David. Questions or comments? Eve.
I just want to note that this is a $50,000 grant from NJDEP towards our tree inventory, which covers more than 30% of the cost. So thanks to the staff who identified and pursued this grant. As always, it's fewer dollars out of the taxpayers' pockets. So thank you.
David.
Yeah, I have just a question about it. In reading through, it talked about the period when this would go live, or, you know, the information would be available to the public. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about, I know that we used to have a tree inventory that had a wiki kind of aspect to it where people could put in information if they noticed things were wrong, or how is this, what is the nature of the public-facing side of this?
From what I understand, it will be a GIS-type platform where people can find, if they have a question about a tree in front of their property, they can look up by address and see that tree and then get information on the type of tree, the size, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't had any training on what the public-facing side will look like yet. That's they're doing quality control of the data right now. Then they'll be training staff and looking to roll out the public-facing portal by the end of the month. So we'll follow up with Taylor, our arborist. We can provide more information to council. We can also put it out through the mayor's newsletter when it's ready to go live.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2395, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing Mayor Mark Frieda and Administrator Bernard Hozovic to represent Princeton in the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Green Acres Program, State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Green Acres Program, enabling resolution for supplemental funding request. Is there a thank you, David. David's got the motion, Eve's got the second. Questions, comments? And Bernie, I pronounced your name wrong again, didn't I? Instead of saying Hasdavik, I said something very different, I guess? Okay. Well, I know, but well, I'd like to try to pronounce it right.
Not the first.
As soon as I said it, I knew I said it wrong, so that's why I came back to it, because I prefer to say your name correctly.
Won't be the last either.
Probably not. I'm sorry, did we get, no, I lost track of what I did. Are you making the motion? Well, I already did that. Now we're on questions and comments. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to note that this is an application for Green Acres, which is state funding for further preservation of open space to increase climate resiliency and to approach our goal of 30% of open space preserved within the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve. Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2396, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton awarding a contract extension to 2022 turf management contract for turf management services in public parks. Thank you, Eve, for the motion. Leighton's got the second. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2397, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton awarding a contract extension to 2022 mowing contract for mowing and trimming of grass areas in public parks. Is there a motion? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Leighton, was that your hand or your scratch? Sorry. I want to make sure you're seconding it, not scratching your beard.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2398, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing an amendment of Resolution 22-165 for an increase of $1,000 for 2022 and authorizing the 2023 professional services agreement with the law offices of Abruzzi, McDermott, Mastro, and Murphy in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for professional legal services, Labor Council. Is there, David, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 23-99, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing the award of a professional engineering services agreement to Paulus Sokolowski and Sartor LLC for a cost not to exceed $156,500 for the design of the Trehune Road Improvement Project, North Harrison Street to Grover Avenue. Leighton's got the motion. Is there a second? Mia's got the second. Questions or comments? Eve.
Thank you. Deanne, I was wondering, what is the design speed for this? I know Terhune is currently 25 miles per hour. Is the intention, is this too early to bring this up as a concern, or too late, or just right?
It's too early, but typically the design speed is 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. So for example, Witherspoon Street Phase 3 will be a 25 mile an hour design speed because the posted speed is 20.
So then this would be, if you stick with the posted speed of 25, it's going to be a design speed of 30. So what would need to get done to lower that? I mean, wouldn't this be the time to influence the design speed?
It will when we have a kickoff meeting. We can approach that subject at that time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. 23-100, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement with Control Point Associates, Inc. for the not-to-exceed amount of $23,375 for professional land surveying services for the acquisition of the Princeton Ridge Homeowners Association private open space, Block 501, lots 10 and 3. Is that Okay, I'm not sure who was first there. David's got the motion, Mia's got the second. Questions and comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next up is the consent agenda. I just want to make sure nobody had anything they wanted us to pull out of the consent agenda. If not, someone could move it in block. Leticia moves it in block. Is there a second? Thank you, Eve. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. There we go. David, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? Thank you, Eve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are done. Thank you all for attending tonight. Have a great evening. Be careful driving home. It might be snowing. I hope not.